ask you about that first. John's been ruled out with a groin problem. Is that a concern?
We've spoken to the Welsh management and we don't feel it's a major concern. We feel with a couple of days treatment he'll be available to play for us next week.
Right. Which is obviously really
it's positive, yeah. From our point of view, I think it's pretty positive. Yeah, they've decided that there is a slight niggle there, but they don't want to push it, realising that he's got a huge game for us next week. And also they probably gives them an opportunity to look at the combination centre as well.
Is that something you picked up in Northampton?
No.
In training?
Yeah.
The other boys, since it's only Rodri and Liam left, then are they going to be?
I think they're going to be 24th, 25th men with Wales, so they're going to be involved in the match day experience and cover should anybody fall out in the warm-up. Yeah. So it'll be a good experience for those two young boys. Be great.
Not great for you though in terms of going to Ulster and facing probably a full strength Ulster side.
I'm not so sure. Everybody's very keen to wear the shirt at the moment. There's a huge game obviously against Munster coming up, and everybody wants to be in the team for that. We're going to be able to put together a very strong side, as far as I'm concerned, with a certain amount of experience and a lot of ability, which is key to go to Ulster. And there's a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm and momentum in the group at the moment. So, we'll be competitive regardless who we pick.
I know it's a hypothetical question. Would you have wanted to have played a full-strength team before a big handicap game? Because obviously there's different coaches have different views on this, whether to rest players or go almost like the same team as a one.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to answer because we've got to pick a team for this game under the circumstances, and we want to make sure that they're in the right frame of mind. But in the past we have, but we may have looked at it differently this year with the World Cup and everything else. And also we're in a very heavy period of rugby, not 2 months to games obviously, but then the local derbies over Christmas, so it's a lot of intense rugby coming up, and the boys coming back from the World Cup, as I said. So yeah, we might have looked at this slightly differently anyway.
People assume that once you'd have your World Cup players back, then you turn it out, but it hasn't been the case. It hasn't been sort of the World Cup players who've
no, not really. The World Cup players have added a lot of spice to our team, and they've been great, but it's been based on the back of the guys who've played week in, week out for us, as is always the case. And we had a bit of a rough start, not in terms of our performances, because I was generally happy with our performances. It was just with a lot of young players and inexperience, we probably didn't know how to close out some key games and key moments in games. So that was the difference. But they learned quickly, they learned on their feet, and they've started to make a big inroads for us, and that's why we're very confident. And I think even our supporters, when they look at the team we're going to put together for this game against Ulster, will be reasonably pleased that we're going to be competitive out there.
Are you changing people's perceptions of the Scarlets in terms of, you mentioned on the weekend that you won ugly, and that now you're not the side who just throw the ball about willy-nilly and play champagne rugby, that you can dog it out, as it were?
I've always said that we have to become more pragmatic in our approach, and I think we certainly do that. And when we've looked at historically the sides that have won things, they tend to have they concede one try to every 2 they score. That's never been the case with us, but it is right now. So there's a factor. I think our game without the ball has gone up a couple of notches, and Simon Easterby's done a great job there, in fairness to him. And the boys are responding to the work that they've done over the last year or so with Simon there. And it's an area where we're getting a lot of tries from. Turning sides over again against the Dragons on the weekend. That try that we scored eventually, it came from a turnover near our own try line. And 4 tries virtually against Northampton came from turnovers. So we've got the ability and talent to take those opportunities. We probably haven't been creating them without the ball because our defence hasn't been good enough. And we've had to work hard with the ball to create those chances. I still firmly believe that we can play rugby as well as anybody if the time and the occasion is right. But I think we are becoming a bit more pragmatic. And the other area I feel really quite strong in recent performances is our kicking game, and we tended to come out on top in that area as well.
You say pragmatic. Ravenhill in December was probably that is a venue where you will have to be in terms of play.
Yeah, you are. I mean, the game will have its own life and its own momentum, and sometimes you've actually got to go and win the game if things aren't going your way. You don't get the calls away from home. It's a difficult place to go. You can't just sit on your laurels and hope you're going to get a penalty. You know, you've got to go and win the game. So, but that will be dictated by how the game shapes up. So we're aware of that. And yeah, I mean, you've got to be pretty pragmatic. It's probably going to be a gale force wind there. It's probably going to be a game of two halves, and you have to deal with each half separately and differently, and that will be important. Ulster, a good team. They've recruited well again. They've got a lot of experienced international players, but they need a big performance from themselves this week. You know, as you say, probably with a full strength team, they want to get a good performance, so they'll be under a bit of pressure to do that. We're on a roll, you know, and I think momentum is important, and we've got confidence, so it should be a good game.
Looking at the league table, obviously you're up to 6th.
It's better,
yeah. Position you'd like to be, you'd want to be, or happy with?
Yeah, well, we were second or third for most of the last season, and look where we ended up. So, you know, we sneak it up on people, I like to think. So we're not badly positioned. I think in all the corresponding fixtures last year, we're ahead in terms of points.
Right.
If we take the corresponding fixtures that we'd have played. But that still means we've got some huge games ahead of us. But there are some opportunities there as well. You know, games that we lost last year, like Ospreys at home. You know, that's a huge fixture for us on Boxing Day now, and it's very significant in terms of our league positioning. But then equally difficult games where we've got to go. We've got to beat people like Glasgow and Edinburgh home and away to keep that momentum going. So we know that one, and so there's big challenges ahead in the league. But you know, we're comfortable there at the moment, and although we'd like to be further up the table, you know, we're reasonably well positioned, realising that there's still not much work to do.
And at this stage of the season, everyone talks about the strength of squads, various competitions. Are you strong enough to compete? Obviously, top of your LV group, top of your Heineken Cup group. You said you're well positioned in the league.
Yeah.
Have you got that across the board strength to challenge for us?
Well, we were in a similar position last year, probably higher up the league. We certainly didn't have the strength of squad that we got this year last year. So I'd like to think that we're in a better position to do that. And also, you know, our international players, because of their age, are a lot more experienced than they were this time last year as well, and probably performing a bit better than they were this time last year. And that's pulled the whole, or raised the whole bar in terms of performance levels. And there's a group behind them who are hungry to to get their opportunities as well. So right now we're in a good place, but that can change very quickly. And we're firmly on the ground, and we want to keep the momentum going. That's the key thing. And going to Ulster with maybe very few players who people think will play against Ulster in the team, but yet with a certain amount of confidence that we can be competitive.